guys, how's it going? So we're about ready to head up to the church to finish the planting project that we've been working on in stages. The first thing we did was plant up a couple of great big containers for fall. Then we went back and planted a Japanese maple and the most beautiful oak leaf hydrangea that's starting to turn more of its fall color. So maybe we can show you a little update on that today. And then we tackled a great big new flower bed where we incorporated in a bunch of beautiful evergreens, some summer color, some sedum, but there were two things missing in that area. The first of which was the grassy texture. And I just didn't have these on hand when we did that project. This is called Cheyenne Sky Panicum. They grow about 3 feet tall and about 2 feet wide. In fact, I'll show you one that's a little bit more mature in my own garden. The cool thing about these is that they come out like this blue-green color, and then early on in the summer, they start changing into this beautiful like burgundy red. So you get a gorgeous color show out of these from really early on in the season. And the seed heads are just, they're beautiful. They're feathery, they move in the breeze really nicely, and they're really great filler for bouquets. And then the second thing that we are missing is some really nice spring color. I did plant one bloomerang lilac, but it's kind of off to the side, so I want to incorporate in maybe some daffodils and tulips, which we have to stop at the garden center for on our way to the church. So these are my other supplies here. I've got my Biotone starter fertilizer, and this is what we'll use for the grasses. And then I've also got my bulb tone, which is a bulb and flower food. Now, if you don't have access to bulb tone or you're having a hard time finding it, you can go ahead and use the Biotone when you're planting bulbs. They're both just really good at getting roots started, which is what you want when you plant your bulbs in the fall. This, like in consecutive years after you plant your bulbs, you'll be fertilizing them after they're done blooming and their leaves are starting to wither and fade. So you only fertilize them in the fall when you're actually planting them. And then I've got my bulb auger. This is so handy to have. You want to make sure that it's a big enough one. I think this is 2.5 inches. And then I like the height. Like you can get them shorter that are like this short, but then you have to be on your knees. And the whole point is to make your job easier. So this one's nice and tall, so I can just stand and make all the holes for my bulbs. And then what else do I have? An extra battery and my shovel. So before we leave, let's run out to the garden and I'll show you my Cheyenne Sky. So this one, I don't know that is that 3 feet? That might be 3 feet. And it's definitely gotten a lot wider since I planted it. This has been in the ground. I think this is its second season now. But I just think it's so pretty here next to the blue spruce. And this is the lemon jade sedum. So you can see the gorgeous color and just kind of how it fills in. I thought that might be a really good visual. So you can kind of imagine what the grasses are going to look like here in a couple of years. Let's head to the garden center for bulbs. All right, so we're here. We're going to go grab some bulbs. Time to plant them. Hey, Gary. Hello. So there's racks of bulbs up here. They're either in packages like of 10 or 12, and there are some bulk like this right here. You can buy however many bulbs you want. So now I just have to decide. So tulips, daffodils. There are some fritillaria here, which I don't think I want to use any of those. And then there are hyacinths and crocus and some iris. Probably be good to do a blend of maybe some daffs and tulips. Maybe something that blooms early and something that blooms late so that we have a lot of color in the spring. So the first one I think I'm gonna grab are these. These are called Ice Follies. I think those are really pretty with the white outer and then the soft yellow on the inside. These will look really pretty, kind of like tucked under or right up next to one of the big boulders. I think we should do like groupings of 10. So maybe, I wonder how many bulbs are in here. 2, 4, you know what? I'm just gonna take this whole box. So there's 4, 32, 34, 35 in here. And it's awesome because most of these will have 2 blooms per to start with instead of a single. I think these would be really pretty. Menton. These bloom late spring and the daffodils bloom early spring. So that would be perfect. 70. These might be pretty. These bloom mid-spring. So we'll have an early, a late, and a mid. There's way too many in here though. I don't need that whole box. These are called Peace Flame. 50 of those. Now I think we need a little purple. And so I think I'm gonna either do crocus or hyacinths for that. I like this one a lot. This one's called Purple Sensation. Oh, and these are already in bags. So there's 6 of them in here. So why don't I grab like 5 bags? Hyacinth bulbs make me itchy. So that's something to be aware of. If you touch the bulbs and then like touch your skin around your face, I don't know if it happens to everybody, but to me, like my whole face and neck will start to itch. Okay, I think that does it. So I'm gonna get the grasses placed first, and I kind of want to dot them around in this area. I don't want them to be super close together. I think this one will look really good in between these two boulders and maybe grow over this little utility box right here, just kind of soften that look. And the next one, I was noticing kind of a gap in between this evergreen and Rosa Sharon. I think it'll be really pretty right back in here. I don't want to plant it too close because people are going to use this to sit on, so I don't really want it like touching people. And then we'll draw a little bit of height and interest forward and put them in between, the last one in between these two boulders. Doesn't that look pretty? Like you don't even realize what the space is missing until you set it there and you're like, oh yeah, that kind of like brings it all together. So I'm gonna plant these, and then when I'm all done with that, I will start placing the bulbs. All right guys, so I just wanted to show you kind of how I go about planting when there's already mulch in place. It's really quite easy. You just scoot the mulch out of the way, and then you give yourself a pretty good area here. Then I like to pop whatever plant I'm planting out of its can, check its root system. This one's a little bit bound on the bottom, so we'll give it a little bit of a tease, just a light one, it doesn't need much. And then I'm gonna dig my hole and put all my excess soil in this container so that it's all contained and it's not spread out everywhere. And then it just keeps everything a lot cleaner. So let me do that. Kind of clear that hole out. I'm gonna add my biotone. Then I usually kind of mix the biotone and some of the native soil together, and then we'll plant our grass. So usually there's enough soil left over. I usually put like one shovelful right next to the hole. That's what we backfill with. Got a little bit of soil out here, but not much. Okay, so the plant is all, ooh, came across some garbage. Plant's all tucked in, so now I just take the mulch and smooth it right back into place. That's it, super easy. The excess soil right here, because you're always left with about as much as you had in terms of root ball right here, usually we'll go find a place where there's some just bare soil and just spread it out. So now I'm gonna spend a little time planting the other two, and then I'm gonna place all the bulbs where I think they should go. Spread out, and I basically just put them in groupings of 5 or 10 or maybe 11 or 12 together, starting right over here with some of the Ice Follies daffodils, which I think will look really pretty, kind of hugging the corner of this boulder. And then some of the Menton tulips right here, which are a little bit taller, and you'll have some color from the daffodils early. This variety of tulip blooms a little bit later. Then there's some of the Peach Flame tulips, which bloom mid-spring, so we should have some really pretty color. And I tried to think about that the whole way putting the bulbs in. I was like, you know, I want to make sure that I've got all the color spread out evenly so that, you know, every part of the season there's something pretty in every space. And then in some areas, like right here, I have a few tulips, and then right in front I'm going to mix a few of these hyacinths. So these are the Peach Flame that bloom mid-spring, and the hyacinths bloom early through mid-spring. So there should be a few, maybe a couple weeks of bloom overlap, where these will be blooming together. So I thought that would be really pretty. But basically, like, I stayed fairly close to the boulders here. It's kind of amazing how quickly bulbs get gobbled up, but I think this will be just enough to bring some really pretty, soft spring color to this area. So now I'm gonna go get all of my supplies and we're gonna get these planted. Thank goodness for the bulb auger. everything's planted, grasses are planted, all the bulbs are in the ground, watered in, and ready to go for next spring. I think it's going to be a really pretty color blend too, with that kind of deep apricot pink, and then the lighter pink, the white with the buttery yellow daffs, and then the purple hyacinths. It's going to be a really soft look, but it'll feel very springy. I did want to mention about the fertilizer. So I used the bulb tone at the bottom of the hole, and I used a little solo cup to pour some bulb tone in because it's just easier to haul around rather than picking that heavy bag up and moving it every time. And then you won't be fertilizing spring flowering bulbs in the fall again. That's only at planting. And then what you'll do in consecutive years is you'll wait until they're done blooming in the spring, and that's when you fertilize them again. So you'll get them on an annual schedule of fertilizing late spring after they're done blooming. So I wanted to mention that. I used 180 bulbs total in this space. I could have used, I don't know, a couple hundred more than that. But I think for this type of planting, which is already very open, it's more appropriate to do little groupings of them rather than a huge mass plant of bulbs, because it wouldn't have really looked like it fit in. But I was just telling Erin, it'll be fun to see exactly where all the groups come up, because as I was planting, I thought, well, it's a good thing we're making a video because I will never remember where all these things are. And then in the spring, we'll kind of reassess, see where they all are, and then maybe add to it next fall. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I'm just so excited that it's all buttoned up. I think it's looking really great. In fact, at church on Sunday, they did a little open house of the whole new area, just like kind of a reveal party, and we had donuts and cider out here, and it was a really sweet time. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.